Hey there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back. I'm your host, PattSun, and today we're going to be taking a look at r/surviving infidelity, where OP is now living a wonderful life while his ex, well, not so much. Let's begin. I found out that my wife had an affair for 2 years with a man 20 years older than her. Posted by Reddit user Lonely Salamander.
I actually made a post on here a couple of years ago when I had caught her having an affair online. I decided to give her another chance and thought that we had worked things through.
By the end of this, you are going to be crying like a little bitch.
What I didn't realize was, at the exact same time she was starting an affair with a man that is old enough to be her father and treated her like a caring older brother. For 2 years I had no idea until 6 days ago I turned on an old phone to see if I could use the camera and saw all of their text messages. She told him she loved him, talked about what they were doing together physically, that she was going to leave me, they talked about what was going to happen to my son, etc. Now that she's gotten caught, she wants me to give her another chance. She's telling me she realizes now that she was using him as a backup plan because she was scared I would leave, which is bullshit because I've been right here for her for 10 years. She's tried to convince me in 2 years that they've only had sex once and other than that, they just did hand stuff, but I don't believe a single thing she says. She cries every day and begs me to stay, saying that she will do absolutely anything for me to stay. Says that she doesn't know what she'll do if I leave. I put literally everything I am into this marriage. I know I have to have blame because otherwise why did she run to someone else again? But I don't know what I could have done differently or tried harder at. I pay all of the bills, cook all of the meals. I love my son more than words could ever describe, and I made sure she knew she was loved without suffocating her.
Wow, like a bitch.
And that's what Frieza said.
I don't know, I'm just really sad and I don't think I want to leave. But I do, and for the first time in a long time, I'm really scared and I don't even feel like a man anymore. I could just really use any kind of support because I feel like I'm in an echo chamber in my own mind and these thoughts are eating at me.
Support? Why the hell would anyone want to give you support, OP? You chose this. You deserve this. You stayed with a cheater, knowing deep down inside that she will never change. All of the sadness that you feel, all of the shame, all of the disrespect, and all of the heartbreak, you deserve it all. Look, man, there is nothing you can do to change the past. Just take it as a lesson. For now, talk to a divorce lawyer, go to therapy, and focus on your son. And now for today's second story. What and when to tell the kid now? Posted by Reddit user Tony Mosh.
Simply put, my ex and I were married 8 years, divorced 5 years. The last half of our marriage was not really a loving marriage. I focused on work and our son. I felt deeply unloved and unliked. She focused on building a parallel life that made her happy. She felt undesired and not part of the team. We had a relationship of friends and a partnership of running our home. I kept my head down and persevered, hoping it would get better. She stepped out and had an affair. When I found out, we had a meeting. She couldn't recommit to the family, so I kicked her out. I'm leaving out a lot. Basically, total communication breakdown on both parts. To be honest, I can make a list of all the mistakes I made in our marriage. I regret all of them. I don't blame her for divorce. I don't think she's bad or evil. I do blame her for never speaking up and ending the marriage with destruction, not grace. I do blame her for not being willing to attempt to fix things. She blames me for everything and accepts no role for the divorce. I pushed her to cheat, basically. Co-parenting is generally very good. Now, she's marrying the affair partner. She wants him around more. Parallel to this, our son has no idea about anything. Affair partner and I never met and I never told. We've lied about everything. Mom and Dad just thought it would be best. Our son is doing very well, but he was shocked by divorce because there were no signs for him. We never argued, etc. He's still embarrassed about the divorce and it's sensitive for him. He's one of the few kids with divorced parents in the school. The lies, especially to our son, bother me deeply. My son and I bonded a lot when she was gone building a life. I hate lying to my son. My ex wants me and a fair partner to be cordial and pretend, so my son doesn't know we're suspected. I can't control him, but I want nothing to do with him. I have no plans to say anything. But I know my son will say, why don't you and a fair partner hang out or talk at my soccer games? You and Mom used to, now you don't. Then what do I say? As a fair partner is integrated, the lies will get harder unless I pretend. What to do?
OP, The longer and harder you try to hide this and pretend nothing is wrong, the more damage you will do to your son. Why are you even listening to your ex-wife's demands? Why are you protecting the bitch that ruined your marriage, broke your heart, and destroyed your son's home? If you really don't have the balls to stand up to your ex, then please at least consider this excellent advice from Reddit user Independent Shame.
If asked directly, this is what I would say: I don't like him. If asked why, I would tell him why. You should explain this to your ex beforehand though. Explain you have no intentions to be a dick to the affair partner, but you also aren't going to go out of your way to be friendly. And if your kid asks why, you'll tell the truth. Look, one day no matter what, the kid is going to discover the truth. You want to be the dad who lied to your kid, or the dad who told the truth. Your ex is going to get mad though, but I mean, is that really your problem?
It's been almost 3 years now, and I made it. You can too. Posted by Reddit user CMDR Lab Zeus.
In early December, it will have been 3 years since D-Day. I can't believe it was that long ago, honestly. Anyhow, I'm probably posting this for one selfish reason and one unselfish reason. Selfish, an exercise of reflection and closure for myself. Unselfish, to give others some hope. In my case, there was no reconciliation. Without getting into the weeds of too many details, I'll say that at the time and up to the finalization of divorce, I did want reconciliation under and only under certain conditions. Conditions which were not met and that she had no interest in meeting. The desperation and rejection, feeling of loss and just wanting things to magically be normal again were my primary motivators, though I don't think I realized it until hindsight. I thought it was because of love, maybe it partly was. But hindsight, it's a funny thing. Most people, unless they have been on the receiving end of infidelity, have no clue how awful it is for the bullshit. I said then and I still say, it is one of the worst things that you can do to a person. Sure, there are some worse sins you can commit against others, but they are the most egregious, unspeakable ones known to man. Whatever awful thing you're imagining that fits the criteria, yes, that's what I'm referring to. If you're lucky, someone close to you in a supportive role will at least be able to empathize to a degree that's just short of personal experience. And if you're even luckier, someone close to you in a supportive role will have actually experienced the same as, or even worse than, you are experiencing. Those people make the best advocates for obvious reasons, and I found it and still find it curious that many of my most ardent supports were not the people I would have expected them to be, and likewise, those who I would have expected to be my biggest champions failed me in spectacular fashion. I, along with my new wife, will be celebrating our first wedding anniversary in the spring. 3 years ago, I wouldn't have thought it possible. I was my own version of a train wreck, much like many of you reading this currently are. I mentioned hindsight earlier. Looking back on it all, I not only made it, I came out on top. I basically traded a Pinto for a Ferrari. I not only have a hotter wife than I previously did, but a better woman as a wife in every conceivable way. I also realized in hindsight that even if I would have reconciled with the ex-wife, it wouldn't have lasted. I would have been miserable, and it wouldn't have changed the relationship's final destination. It would only have prolonged the inevitable end. Even if I weren't currently remarried, I'd still be better off alone than spiritually and legally chained to such a person. Trust is the currency of any relationship, be it a romantic one or otherwise. And well, here's the simple truth. You can't trust a cheater, you can't have a real relationship with someone who you can't trust, and you can't be married to someone with whom you can't have a real relationship. Yeah, you can be married in the legal sense, but emotionally, spiritually, mentally, nope. You'd be nothing more than a zombie in that relationship. It would be like painting spots on a cat and pretending it's a leopard, or pretending that it will someday become a leopard if you just want it bad enough. If you can't already tell, I am not a supporter of reconciliation after infidelity. Go and read through the reconciliation boards. Sometimes it takes a decade or more, but the betrayed always eventually has to be honest with themselves and admit the dirty little secret that the wayward spouse can never be trusted again. You can forgive, sure, and you should. Because as someone once said, harboring unforgiveness is like taking poison with the expectation that it will damage the offender. But forgiveness does not equate to trust. Don't let anyone tell you it does either. Otherwise, we'd all be telling abused spouses to stay with their abusers. We'd be letting pedos babysit our kids. We'd let convicted murderers have guns. But we don't do those things, and for good reason. Forgiveness can take time too. You aren't going to feel it immediately, but you just keep saying it. I forgive this person. Back to hindsight. I won't say, looking back on it, that I have no regrets and I'm glad it all happened the way it did. If I could change things in the past, I'd have never married my ex-wife to begin with. I wouldn't have discounted the red flags that she was waving when we dated. I would have been a better person to begin with. There's a lot of things I would have done differently if I had known what I was getting myself into. But what I will say is that if all those things had to happen regardless, then I'm glad they did, because that path, as ugly and crooked as it was, brought me to where I am now. And I am so thankful to God that I am where I am now. I can also say that while I didn't and don't appreciate the trauma, that whole experience did refine me, much like an impure metal in the fire. I am a better person because of it. I don't say that to thank my ex-wife. She is no doubt a despicable human being. I say it to point out that God can always extract good things out of seeming disaster. I didn't see it then, but I see it now. So, stay strong. You're capable of much more pain than you think you are. The road to recovery seems long because it is long. But there are things you can do to shorten that road. Find a good counselor. Get some Ender treatment, or even get an Ender app on your phone. Astonishingly, it worked for me very well. Pray. Don't believe in God. Pray anyway. Ask Him simply, if you are real, please reveal yourself to me. Don't waste time blaming yourself. What they did was not your fault. You didn't cause this. It is possible for people to get a divorce without cheating. People do it all the time. So, they have no excuse. They are simply at worst a truly bad person, or at best a decent person who made a mistake. Either way, they are not to be trusted. There are almost 8 billion people on the earth. There is someone amongst them who will treat you with love and respect. So, concentrate on getting well again. Your soul has been in a plane crash. Nurse it back to health. Then go find your person. Waking up every day with the betrayal as the first thing on your mind is not a permanent thing. Trust me, it's not. There will be a day when you awake and you'll realize for the first time that it wasn't the first thing that came to your mind. That day is a milestone. Celebrate it when it happens. Until then, just concentrate on healing and looking forward to that milestone. No, it's not fair, and it's okay for you to acknowledge that. But fair or not, it doesn't change what you need to do now. It's not fair that a drunk driver clips a guy and takes out his legs either. But whether or not it's fair has nothing to do with the fact that to walk again, the guy will have to rehab and go through physical therapy. Let yourself grieve, sure, but don't wallow in self-pity for too long. You will some, especially at first. Just don't get stuck there. Keep moving forward, even if it's in baby steps. You may be thinking 3 years, OMG. I said it was 3 years since D-Day. I didn't say that it took 3 years for me to heal. It didn't. Probably about a year before I felt like my old self completely. I met my current wife 2 weeks after my divorce was final. I was blessed, but I also put in the work. I did everything I could to recover as fast as I possibly could. Yes, for myself, but also so that I could be a good mate for the next woman, whoever she was to be. You can do this, but you have to do your part. It won't just happen on its own. Make the effort because you are worth it. Much love, just another Surviving Infidelity alumni.
And then, OP added more details down in the comments.
I'd have never married my ex-wife to begin with. I wouldn't have discounted the red flags that she was waving when we dated. When we are young and dating, we only see the good in our dates, optimistic and excited for the future, so easy to overlook the red flags. You are a survivor. Thanks for sharing your positive update and advice. Just curious if you know how ex-wife turned out. Truthfully, I chose to ignore the red flags out of desperation and impulse. I was ready to settle down and be married. At 32, I thought I was getting old. I was also pressured into marrying her before I was truly ready by her. I was manipulated emotionally. She made me feel sorry for her and I bought it. She was all too eager to have me be her white knight who saved her from a life of bad relationships and loneliness, and I was too eager to play the part. Emotional manipulation at work. I now realize that's the mark of a sociopathic narcissist. All I know is that she lives probably 20 to 30 miles away from me with her affair partner, at least last I heard. I don't think they got married, but then I haven't kept tabs either. I don't believe they were married at the time they began cohabituating though. Now, she comes from a pretty religious family, at least on the surface and for appearance's sake, which is different than having a true one-on-one relationship with the Creator, and that sort of thing is frowned upon in their religious and friends circle. I also made damn sure her parents knew the truth of what happened, because I don't believe she would have ever told them the truth of her own free will. I included incontrovertible evidence, including a phone call I recorded where she was forced to admit at least enough of the truth to prove that she was objectively guilty. The affair partner was also married at the time of the affair. So, two cheaters got together. I'm sure that such a relationship, born out of dishonesty and backstabbing is going to last. And oh, by the way, I was her second husband. The affair partner had also been twice divorced by the time they shacked up. So, here's the beauty of it. I don't really need to know exactly where they are in life right now, because I already know exactly where they're going to end up. It's a simple math problem. If I remember correctly, less than 2 to 5% of relationships born from affairs last, with most of them ending before the 18-month mark. Something like 60% of second marriages and 75% of third marriages end in divorce. I'm no statistician, but I'm quite certain that when you combine those risk factors, the odds are heavily not in favor of the relationship lasting. So like I said, whether it's ended yet or not, it will most likely go down in flames. By the sheer numbers, it's not a matter of if, but when. And if it somehow ends up thriving against those odds, then I should buy a Powerball ticket because I'd probably win. But kidding aside, it's better for the human race if betrayers stay with their own kind and leave the decent people of the world alone. Let them destroy each other, no complaints from me. So, I actually hope they make it for the same reasons that I hope rapists and pedos get put in prison together. The more they stay focused on each other, the less of us they can victimize.
Thank you for sharing your story, OP. I understand that it is very hard for those currently dealing with infidelity to see the light at the end of the tunnel, especially for those spineless simps who chose to stay and be disrespected. Your story is a testament to the whole process of healing. Stay strong and keep moving forward. Viewer support is the best way for me to remain independent and continue bringing you these daily videos, which will always be here on my channels for you to watch absolutely free. So please consider subscribing to me on Rumble and on YouTube. Both will be linked in the description box down below. Thanks for listening, everyone. If you even somewhat enjoyed today's story, make sure to give this video a thumbs up, and if you really like it, consider subscribing to PattSun to never miss a future upload. Stay strong.